When you get to be 78 years old, mornings don't start the way they used to. My bones pop like popcorn when I get out of bed. My knees ache when I take the stairs. And my fingers take their time warming up before I can even button my blouse. But still, I rise. Every single morning, I rise. That Wednesday started like any other. The sky was pale and gray, and the wind clished against the window like it wanted to come inside. I shuffled into the kitchen, boiled water for tea, and began my usual task, baking Reed's favorite blueberry pie. I don't bake much anymore. My appetite has grown small, and the silence in the house makes meals feel empty. But I always bake for Reed, my grandson, my light. He visits every Wednesday afternoon, rain or shine, hungry for pie and full of love. He's the only one who shows up just for me, not for money, not for help, just for time. He tells me about college, books, and girls he's too shy to talk to. He makes me laugh, like George used to. Ah, George, my sweet husband. It's been 8 years since his heart stopped. Yet every morning, I still talk to him. I tell him about the birds outside, about my aching hip, about how Wesley still hasn't paid me back. I pretend he's out in the garden like he always was, humming to his tomatoes. At exactly 3:15, I heard the gate squeak and smiled. Reed. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened the door. There's my boy, I said. Smells like heaven in here, Grandma. He grinned, his backpack swinging behind him as he leaned in for a hug. He sat down at the table, eyes already searching for the pie. I sliced him a big piece, just the way he liked it, warm with a bit of whipped cream on top. We talked like we always did. He told me he passed his physics exam and finally figured out how to fix the squeaky door in his dorm. I told him about the neighborhood cat that thinks my porch is his hotel. Then, just as he scooped the last bit of pie crust into his mouth, he asked me a question that made my heart go cold. Grandma, what are you wearing for Friday? I blinked. Friday? Yeah, for Dad and I Cora's anniversary dinner at Willow Creek, he said, licking his spoon. I thought you'd be picking a fancy dress by now. My stomach twisted. Anniversary dinner? I asked, my voice low. He looked confused. Didn't Dad tell you? Everyone's gonna be there. Even Aunt Thelma's flying in. It's a big thing, 30 years and all. I smiled gently, but inside, my hands were shaking. Oh, I said, I must have forgotten. But I hadn't forgotten anything. No one had told me anything. After Reed left, I sat alone in the kitchen for a long time. The pie tin was empty. My heart felt the same. That night, Wesley called. Hi, Ma, he said, too cheerful. Just checking in. How's the hip? It's fine, I replied. He hesitated. So, just wanted to say we had to cancel the dinner. Cora's not feeling too well. Little bug, you know. I held the phone tight. Oh, I said, that's a shame. Reed was really looking forward to it. There was a pause. I could hear him swallow. Yeah, he must have gotten confused. Anyway, we'll do something another time. Love you, Ma. He hung up quickly. I stared at the phone in my hand for a long time. Why would he lie? The next day, I called Thelma, my daughter. She picks up when it suits her, usually once a month, and always in a hurry. Hi, Ma, she said. I'm running to a meeting. Can we make this quick? I heard Cora's sick. Sick, she repeated. What? Oh, yeah, I think so. I could hear her flipping through papers. She wasn't even paying attention. I thought you were coming to town this weekend, I asked. Yep, Friday night, quick visit, she said. To celebrate 30 years of Wesley and Cora? I asked softly. Silence. Wait, didn't Wesley tell you it was canceled? She asked, her voice suddenly careful. Yes, I said, he did. Another silence. Well, maybe he meant it's just a small thing now. Not a big deal, she said quickly. Anyway, gotta run. She hung up before I could say another word. I sat down on my living room couch. My hands felt numb. My chest felt heavy. They were lying to me. They were having a party without me. That night, I ran into Doris Simmons at the supermarket. Doris is an old friend of Thelma's. She works in accounting. Edith, she said, giving me a hug. Tell Thelma I hope her travel goes smooth this weekend. She told me she's coming for a family celebration. I smiled. I'll be sure to pass that on. Now I knew they hadn't forgotten to invite me. They had chosen not to. I went home. I stood in the hallway of my quiet house, the same one George and I bought when the kids were little, the one I had cleaned and paid for all my life. I looked at the photos on the wall. Wesley in overalls, Thelma with her front teeth missing, George holding a kite in the yard. And I cried. I wasn't just forgotten. I was erased. The next morning, I woke up with a fire in my chest. Not anger, not yet, but something hot, something new. I shuffled to the kitchen, made tea, and sat by the window where George used to read the newspaper every morning. The chair across from me was still empty, still his. I whispered, "They're doing it without me, George. They're celebrating 30 years of marriage like I was never part of that story." I knew they were still going through with it. Cora wasn't sick. Thelma was flying in. Reed had mentioned the time and the place. They had lied, not by accident, not to protect me, but on purpose. Why? Did I embarrass them? Was I too slow, too old, too plain? I used to be the one they ran to. I held them when they cried. I worked double shifts to buy their school shoes. I stayed up all night when Wesley had the chicken pox and gave Thelma my coat when hers tore in winter. I was always there. But now, I was invisible. The phone rang that afternoon. It was Cora. "Hi, Mama Edith," she said in that high, cheerful voice she puts on when she's pretending. "Just wanted to call and check on you." I waited. She said, "Feeling okay?" I said, "I'm fine," I said slowly. "How is your stomach bug?" There was a pause, then a fake little cough. "Oh, it's much better now. Still taking it easy, though." She was lying through her teeth. I said nothing. "Well, rest up, okay?" she added quickly. "Talk soon." She hung up before I could say another word. That was it. That was the moment I made up my mind. I would not sit home and let them laugh and toast without me. Not in the restaurant I used to visit with George every anniversary. Not in the city where I raised them. Friday arrived with a gray sky and soft drizzle, the kind of weather that makes people stay home and cuddle, but not me. I wore my navy blue dress, the one I hadn't worn since George's funeral. I brushed my silver hair and pinned on my brooch. I sprayed just a little perfume, the one he used to say smelled like garden flowers. I looked in the mirror and said out loud, "They may not want me there, but I will go anyway. Not to ruin the party, just to remind them I am still here." At 5:15, I called a cab. The driver helped me into the car and asked where I was headed. "Willow Creek," I said. "Fancy dinner tonight." The ride was quiet. I looked out the window and watched the town pass by. The library George loved, the school where I worked as a lunch lady, the corner where Wesley learned to ride his bike. So many pieces of my life, all of them still mine. We arrived just before 6. Willow Creek was glowing. Lights shimmered from inside. Cars lined the parking lot. I recognized Wesley's blue truck, Cora's SUV, even Thelma's rental car. I didn't walk in yet. I peeked through a side window near the garden where George and I used to sit for dessert. Through the gap in the curtains, I saw them. They were all there, Wesley in a suit, laughing, Cora raising a glass, Thelma talking with guests, Reed at the end of the table, smiling politely. My heart ached, but not from sadness anymore, from truth. They had made space for everyone, except me. Just as I was about to turn back, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Edith Thornberry? I turned. It was Louis Quinlan, the owner of Willow Creek. Older now, hair grayer, but still sharp in his crisp white suit. "Louis," I said, surprised. "Goodness, it's been years." He looked at me kindly. "What are you doing outside in the cold?" I hesitated. "Would you believe me if I said I wasn't invited?" His eyes narrowed. "To a party for your own son in my restaurant?" I nodded slowly. He looked through the window, then back at me. "Come in with me." I opened my mouth to protest, but he held out his arm. "Let's make this right." I took his arm, and together we walked through the front doors of Willow Creek. The room was full of laughter, until it wasn't. The moment we stepped into the dining hall, the laughter died, forks froze, heads turned, every pair of eyes landed on me. Wesley's mouth dropped open. Mom? Cora blinked. Thelma looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Reed? He smiled. Louis straightened. "I believe this lovely woman is your mother, Wesley, and I believe this is her family, too." The table was silent. I looked at them all. My hands trembled, but my voice did not. "I know you didn't invite me," I said quietly. "I found out through Reed. Then you lied. You lied to keep me away." Wesley stood up fast. It wasn't like that. You told me Cora was sick. You told me it was canceled. You had Reed keep it secret. Thelma, you told your coworkers about this dinner, but not your own mother." I paused. My voice cracked a little, but I kept going. "I raised you with love. I fed you when we had nothing. I gave you money when I had little left, and all I wanted was a seat at the table." Cora tried to smile. "We just thought you'd be tired." "No, you thought I wouldn't matter." Silence. "I won't ruin your dinner," I said quietly. "I just wanted to say something." I reached into my purse and pulled out a letter. "I've sold my house. The money is going to the Blue Springs Library. George's name will be on the new wing. And I've changed my will." Wesley looked up quickly. "Everything else I have, my memories, my books, my jewelry, will go to Reed, because he never made me feel small." The table stayed quiet. I folded the letter and placed it beside Wesley's wine glass. Then I picked up my purse. "I won't take more of your time," I said. Reed stood quickly. "I'll walk you out, Grandma." As we turned to leave, Louis whispered, "You handled that with more grace than I've seen in years." I nodded. "Thank you for not letting me disappear." Outside, the rain had stopped. Reed walked beside me as the cab pulled up. "You okay?" he asked softly. I looked at him, at his honest eyes, and smiled. "I am now." It's funny how life can start all over again when you least expect it. 3 months passed since the night I walked into Willow Creek. The memory of their faces, Wesley's pale shock, Cora's fake smile melting, Thelma's nervous glance stayed with me. Not because I enjoyed their discomfort, but because I finally felt seen. After that night, I moved into a small apartment just 5 blocks from downtown Blue Springs. It wasn't big, but it had sunshine in the mornings and a soft chair by the window. I had a new kettle, new curtains, and peace. No one shouted my name asking for favors. No one asked for money. No one forgot me. I volunteered at the city library 3 times a week. I sorted books, read to the children, and helped other old folks sign up for computer classes. They started calling me Miss Edith, and I liked the way it sounded, like I mattered. Reed came by every Sunday. He brought groceries and stories, laughter and questions. We played cards, watched old movies, and sometimes just sat quietly together. He made me feel like the best parts of my family hadn't gone completely missing. Wesley tried to call, Thelma too. Their voices sounded tight, like people trying to smile with their teeth clenched. They never really said, "I'm sorry." They said things like, "We've been thinking about you more. You should come over sometime." Maybe we overreacted, but I didn't need to go backward. I didn't need guilt wrapped in sweet words. I needed truth and love and rest. I told them, kindly, that I was doing well and that I was no longer available for being ignored. And then came the big day. The grand opening of the George Thornberry Wing at the Blue Springs Library. The whole town showed up. There were balloons and ribbons, music and cookies, even a little news crew with cameras. I wore a lavender dress and a small flower pinned to my shoulder. Reed walked beside me, holding my arm. Wesley and Cora came. So did Thelma, with a big bouquet of pink roses in her hands. Their smiles were small. Their eyes were watchful. I stepped up to the small wooden stage. The microphone squeaked a little, but I cleared my throat and smiled. "Thank you all for coming today," I began. "This wing is in memory of my husband, George Thornberry. He loved books, gardening, and good people. He believed in kindness, even when kindness wasn't returned." I paused. Everyone was listening.
For many years, I gave everything I had to my family, my heart, my home, my hands. I asked for little in return, only love. I saw Thelma shift uncomfortably in her seat. Wesley looked down. Sometimes the people you love forget you're still here, that you still have dreams, still feel pain, still deserve a seat at the table. But that doesn't mean you stop being you. I smiled at Reed. Sometimes one person's kindness can carry you through the darkest rooms. This library wing is not just for George, it's for every person who has ever felt forgotten. Come here, sit, read, remember who you are. The crowd clapped softly. A few people dabbed at their eyes. After the ceremony, I walked around the new wing. It smelled of fresh paint and pages. There were quotes from George carved into the walls. One read, "Kindness is the loudest voice in a quiet room." Reed squeezed my hand. "He'd be so proud of you, Grandma." I nodded. "And of you." As we were heading out, Thelma appeared at the door. She held the bouquet tightly. "Can we talk, Mama?" she asked softly. I looked at her, not angry anymore, just tired. She offered the flowers. "These are for you." "Thank you," I said, accepting them. We sat on a bench outside. "I should have stood up for you at the dinner." Before that, too. I said nothing. She looked down. We got so busy trying to look like a perfect family, we forgot how to be one. That touched something in me, because deep down, I still missed them. I just didn't miss how they treated me. "I can't go back," I said gently, "but I'm open to something new, if you're willing to walk forward." She nodded. "I want that." We hugged. It wasn't perfect. It was soft and small, but it was real. Later that night, I sat by my apartment window looking out at the lights of Blue Springs. The city felt alive, not because it had changed, but because I had. I had spent so many years waiting for visits, waiting for thank yous, waiting to be needed. But now I was building, creating, loving again, but smarter this time. Lewis Quinlan called that evening. I got 2 tickets to the theater, classic comedy, nothing too heavy. You in? I laughed. Are you asking me out, Lewis? Well, he chuckled, I'm asking you somewhere. Then I'm in, I smiled. I ended the call and turned off the lamp. My life used to be built on giving. Now, it was built on choosing. And I was choosing peace, joy, truth, and people who saw me. The quiet in my apartment was no longer lonely. It was full of me. I wasn't someone's mother or someone's meal ticket or someone's burden. I was Edith Thornberry, and I had found my voice again.